Open the...
We request your continued silence. Yeah. Arishji has requested, and I wanted to say that much time ago, is that please switch off your phones if you haven't done it as yet. Now, it is truly an honor to be here, to be having a discussion with Dr. Swamy. I had the opportunity while Dr. Swamy was speaking to look up all the about 47 question sheets that you sent here. And what I did was I quickly went through that and put it down into about 14 categories. Those questions fall into that. So I will address those questions and one statement, and that is, which is table number 1. Purnima and Anurita Kapoor. Are you here? Yes. Oh, there you are. Okay. Message from them. No questions from Mr. Swamy, but missing the presence of Ms. late Narayan Kataria ji. Compliments and congratulations. Cool Sabha on 21st Hindu Unity Day. Very proud of Swami Subramanian ji, organizers, Pavitra ji, Arish ji, and Shushma ji. You forgot my name. You forgot my name. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I pulled your leg and you fell for it. Okay. The questions I will go by as they came about. One of the questions is about the future of India. So Dr. Swamy, how do you visualize what India would look like in the 10 years and beyond as things are today?
See, as far as India is concerned, it is a land of great potential. Give you an example. World over, the households save very little in each country. But in India, of the total investment in our country, 85% comes from savings of households. And the credit goes to the women of India, because they are the ones who save. The men go on spending, but the women, keep on putting little here, there, and then they put deposit in the bank. So our savings rate today has reached, it was at one stage 38%, but now in the last 3-4 years, it has come down to 32%. It can go back to 38%. If it is 38%, and we use our capital or our investment without wastage, without corruption, then this rate of savings will give you easily 10 to 12% of growth rate in the GDP. And if you have a growth rate of 10 to 12% for 10 years continuously, you will be ahead of China, and you will be just next to the United States of America. Second factor, we have so many resources which we don't use. For example, solar energy. We have got so much sunshine, but we don't use it. Go and see so many countries like Israel and others, what they do with their solar energy. And that's a very efficient. So we should work in that direction. The sands of Tamil Nadu and Kerala have 60% of the world's thorium. And thorium can be converted to uranium and be used in a reactor. It will be a clean reactor, unlike a direct uranium utilization in a reactor. The direct availability of uranium will exhaust by 2050. And already the Americans have started planning for it. And they have started research on thorium. We have already done, thanks to the Homi Baba, complete research on thorium. If we do thorium, use thorium, create thorium reactors, you can give power supply to every household practically free. That will be the capacity. So we have to work on that. Third thing is that our agricultural products are, by comparison with international prices, the cheapest in the world. Milk is only 1/8 the price in Europe. Rice is 1/4 the price in Japan and South Africa. Wheat is 1/2 the price in the United States. So why didn't we export these things? Because nobody thought that agriculture can be an exporting sector. Moreover, 12 months of the year you get sunshine and you can do agriculture. America, 5 months you got snowfall, no agriculture. Europe, same thing. 4 months of the year, snowfall, no agriculture. Even China and 2/3 of China, you can't do agriculture for 3 months. But our country, you can do 12 months, which means you can grow 3 crops. But we only grow today, in 25% of the land, we grow more than 1 crop. So, if we can help the farmer, give him the necessary water, electricity, fertilizer, he will grow 3 times the crop in the same land. Moreover, the yield per acre of the Indian farmer today, because of lack of amenities, is 1/6 the level achieved by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research on the same Indian land by using fertilizer, water, electricity, etc. So our production can also go up. India should become a agricultural products exporting economy. You will, no time at all, you will be able to overtake the world. In fact, if we have 150 million cows, and each cow on the average gives you only 200 liters, whereas the Israeli cow gives you 11,000 liters because of its proper nutrition. Our cows, if they are given proper nutrition, they will give you much more than 200, they will give you 2,000 average. And that itself means so much milk that we can wipe out the European, whose milk production is expensive by 7 times. So wherever you go, there is potential. Look at our young population. This is the population that will be doing the innovations, will be doing the scientific research, will be thinking of new ways of doing work. 70% of our population is below the age of 35. 50% is under 20. Europe is getting old because their younger generation is, they are only producing 1 child per family, so the younger generation is hardly, it's what is called as an aging population. Japan is aging much faster. Average age of an Indian is 26. Average age of a Chinese is 35 because they did this 1 child per family forcibly. Similarly, America is 37. Europe is 46. Japan is 50 years average age. We have a young population. Population is a liability if you don't train them, if you don't educate them. So go in for a massive education program for which it's not difficult at all, and equip our people to be able to stand on their own feet and become exporters, become farmers, etc. So if you are talking about India's its potential, it is unlimited. What we need is now focus. I'm telling you, some of the things that our Prime Minister has done is not getting any publicity. If you go and see in the way this Make in India is getting translated in rural areas, you'll understand. You will see it after some time. But his focus is very clear. But unfortunately, we are not able to back him fully in the sense of the entire system is so thoroughly corroded in 67 years of Congress rule that to make that deliver goods, will take a little time. So there is never be, you don't be, pessimistic about our future. We've got tremendous possibilities. India will be, it was once upon a time the most developed country in the world up till the year 1300. And I will predict to you by 2050, India will once again become the most developed country of the world.
And I would like to take this opportunity to just to share an actual experience that I had.
Yeah.
And since there are Sansad are here, thought to you, all of you here, is that in 2007, I had the privilege of doing a keynote address at Human Resource Planning Society of the United States, their convention in Florida. And the theme there was that how would India sustain 8 or 9% of growth rate, which we were notching up at that time, given the less shortage of skilled people. So the question was, how do you define opportunity in India? And I said to them at that time that in 2007, there were total number of aircrafts that were serving the flying needs of Americans were approximately 6,500 plus. India, 1.2 billion people, there were about 350 aircrafts. So if we just began to connect various cities where it takes 39 hours to travel, I used to do the Janta Express travel from Bombay to Bhagalpur in 42 hours. You can travel now in 2 hours. So if India just connected the flight systems around the country, just imagine for a moment the airport, rail, shops, how many more businesses will be created. And the same analogy I use for hospitality industry, for domestic tourism in India, our heritages. To connect those heritages, if we created the hotels, we had in India between 1 star to 5 star, 1 lakh rooms. At that time, Vegas alone had 1 lakh rooms. So think about the opportunity that India has.
Look at the number of foreigners coming to our hospitals.
Yes.
We are the cheapest medical tourism. The medical tourism is now growing. So build hospitals.
Correct.
In large numbers.
Thank you. The next question is, there were several questions about India's dreaded caste system.
Yeah.
And many people have asked that question, why can't we abolish it? Why can't we have a economically driven reservation policy? And how did Hindus allow, like you had mentioned, that how did Hindus allow to be branded with various caste structures? What can we do about it now?
See, first, please understand, we have two concepts, and the British and the Portuguese collapsed it into one, and they called it caste. One is called Varna, and the other is called Jati. Jati is based on bloodlines, but Varna is not based on bloodlines. Varna is a division of labor. Brahmin is not a person who is born a Brahmin. Brahmin is a person who takes to what is called as education and gives up all the luxuries of life. That was the original concept, but he will be the highest socially. So Vishwamitra was a Maharishi, but he was born in a Kshatriya family. Same thing with Vedavyasa, who wrote the Mahabharata. He was born of a fisherwoman, but he became a Maharishi. Kalidasa was a cutting wood in the forest, became a Maharishi and a Mahakavi. Valmiki was a Dalit, and he became a Maharishi, wrote the Ramayana. On the other hand, Ravan was a Brahmin. How many people know that? He was a Brahmin and he was born not in Lanka, he was born in near Delhi in a place in Noida called Bisrak. You can even today go there. There's a big board put by the villagers very proudly, Ravan was born here. He went to Mansarovar and Lord Shiva gave him a boon. With that he went and conquered Lanka and became the king there. But he committed a crime and so he was punished by a Kshatriya, Lord Rama. Brahmins don't say, oh, this Kshatriya has killed one of my Brahmins. There's no such consciousness. So Varna is a fluid concept in sense that there is no such thing as a Brahmin or a scheduled caste or anything permanently. Scheduled caste was a very small thing, but during the Buddhist period and Islamic period, the numbers became large. But if the DNA test is done, we are all of the same DNA. Whether we are a scheduled caste or a Brahmin or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian or a Hindu, all our DNA is the same. And that means we are one people. So that, now as far as jati is concerned, it is certainly because of the marriage concept. You can't marry your sister, you can't marry your brother, you can't marry the following types of cousins. For that they drew up the bloodlines. And that has got nothing to do with your social status. This British and the Portuguese made it into a big concept, and on that basis they did the recruitment, they created a Jat regiment and all that. So, can the caste go? Yes, it can go, it will go. If you say that only a professor can be a Brahmin, and if he's an executive in the Bata Shoe company, he can't be a Brahmin even if he's born in a Brahmin house. This whole concept will go in no time. Or you have agreed to intervarna marriages. You think that there's no difference between a Kshatriya marrying a Vaishya or a Shudra marrying a Brahmin. That kind of thing goes in your mind. You'll see that they become fine. Everybody becomes equal. Ambedkar was educated by a Brahmin teacher. His name was not Ambedkar. His Brahmin teacher's name was Ambedkar. And his Brahmin teacher said, you're a very bright boy, but there will be a lot of prejudice against you. So change your name from Mahar to Ambedkar. And then he got a scholarship to Columbia, and there he wrote a PhD in economics. And then he went to London and got a law degree and came and wrote the Indian Constitution. And he was never respected by the political opponents of Ambedkar. They used to call him Bhimrao. Jawaharlal Nehru went to Cambridge and failed the exam there. And they gave him a gentleman pass degree. And there we people called him Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. A man who couldn't pass an exam is Pandit. A man who came back with a PhD is Bhimrao. That prejudice is the cause, and that has to be overcome, that we are same people, we have the same ability, there is no difference between one varna and another varna. That is how it will go slowly. It will go, but go slowly.
Right. Thank you, sir. Related to the thought that you mentioned earlier on during your talk, that from Kanyakumari to Kashmir and Jamnagar to Dibrugarh, Hindus have to unite. What would you tell us today that must happen there for that to happen?
If you ask me one thing you must do as living in the United States, see that your children are persuaded to learn Sanskrit. Don't do anything else. Sanskrit will do the rest. I don't want you to go out of your way to do anything. That process of learning Sanskrit and becoming proficient in Sanskrit will itself induce in your system the necessary outlook to become a Virat Hindu.
Brilliant. Having studied Sanskrit in my high school days, I know how beautiful it is, because even every sound is defined there. It's lovely about that. Coming back to the question about Kerala, a state which is very beautiful. I was in Kerala 2 years ago with my wife, a sudden trip, and going around to Kanyakumari and other places, I asked the driver, how come you always have a communist government and why there is no BJP here? He looked at me a little scared, thinking that I could be a Muslim.
Yeah, because of the beard.
Because of my beard. When I told him my name is Vibhuti Jha, I saw his fear. Then he started talking. He says the Christians and Muslims will never let any Hindu candidate win. Never. And to that end, we see now that, it's a very bizarre. I read in Kerala, so many Hindus are being killed. You gave the example of Malappuram.
Yes.
I have been to Calicut, and I know Kerala has such a dominance of that Hindus are, even though majority, they are kind of scared. What can we do? What can BJP, what the country can do about it, Hindus can do about it?
Well, at the moment, BJP is posing such a threat that the communists are targeting particularly the RSS people, and killing them. And there is no follow-up action. Same thing happened in Tamil Nadu also for some time, but now it's stopped. And there the Muslim fanatics did it. I think, you see, that old idea that the Muslims and the Christians will not allow, that is now going, because this time the BJP didn't win, it won only one seat, but it got a large amount of votes, which had never been there before. And the Congress, in fact, is angry with us because we got so much votes, their votes went down and they were defeated by the communists. I think this is a temporary phenomenon. I mean, we have heard this before. When I remember when I was first joined Jansang, we used to lose every election. And people say never any chance because, people don't like your thing, Hindus will never unite, they will be always caste and all. But today, BJP is in the new avatar of Jansang is now in power.
Right.
So the time is in our favor. But yes, you're right that our workers are being killed, and it's a very sad thing.
Okay. In 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we will end up the Q&A session here because dinner will be served, and I suppose you must be all hungry. But if I were you, I would still like to engage more of questions. So you're okay with that? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What is central government? Central government is the BJP now.
Please, wait.
To prevent that atrocities of LDF government in Kerala, if there is any action from the central government to stop this kind of atrocities?
Well, we are meeting in Calicut. One of the things we'll discuss is this. But if you ask me what can be done or what will be done, I don't know which you want to know. What you can do is dismiss the government and have president's rule and fix them in no time. I did it once when Chandrasekhar was Prime Minister. I did it in Tamil Nadu. These LTT people are killing all our people. And I went and sat there after getting the sanction from the cabinet and dismissed the government. And after that, LTT never could show its face in the open. So somewhere we have to warn the left-wing government. If you go on killing, if this kind of killing goes on, you can't run the country according to the constitution, and you should be dismissed. And the central forces then move in. They'll replace the Kerala forces, so the CRP and the BSF will take over law and order. It will be in no time it can be fixed. But whether it will be done, that I can't say. That is for the party to decide. We'll see what happens on 24th and 25th in Kerala.
I sincerely request, is it on? Hello? I sincerely request, please do not talk amongst yourselves because you have no idea that your voice carries here. So kindly, no in-table conversations, please. Now the next question is about reciprocity. Everywhere there is an element of reciprocity. Are we asking Muslim countries, given the relationship that we have, is to allow Hindus to build temples and pray there?
They won't listen. I've spoken to the Saudi Arabians at a personal level because I have a lot of personal friends due to the fact that I taught so many years at Harvard. And there were many Saudi Arabian students, they are now in high positions. They said nothing doing. Islam is very clear. And the Islamic people got their mind clear. I don't hold anything against them. In fact, I admire the clarity of their mind. It's the Hindus who's convinced. Like Arjuna sitting in the middle of the battle whether he should kill his relatives or not. And Krishna had to explain to him. And that Indians are always in doubt, you see. Whereas the Muslims are never in doubt.
That's right.
If you are in majority, kill all the minority. Or reduce them to servants. If you are in minority and the majority is pilpila, rasgulla type like us, our society, then go on demanding. No uniform civil code. No, we want a reservation in employment. This kind of thing. Go on demanding. So this is, and if they are in majorities united, then surrender. That's what Muhammad himself has said in Sirah and the Hadith. So in Australia, there is a uniform civil code. The Muslim girls do not wear hijab and all that. Because the Prime Minister said, if you don't like it here, you go and find another country. So soon they all said, no, we are all right with it. America also, they accept the uniform civil code. But in Britain they will not. They will not accept in India. Because we are rasgulla, filpila types, you see. Right. That's the problem.
Just in case you want to know a statistics, which is very significant, as you very rightly pointed out, that we give in. We have become so accommodative that we lose our identity. So let me give you a statistics of 1941 census of India. Guess what? How many British were in India at that time?
That's right.
Just about 150, 170,000. You Google it. Yeah. And including 40,000 women and children. In sum, it means that about 110,000 British ruled us in 1941. How many millions were we? Same story of the deer,
yes.
and then,
Yes, right.
and whatever.
Goats.
So for us to unite nationwide, we have to begin to think other than Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam, Bihar, but Hindus have to unite. I think that's a powerful message. Thank you, sir.
But the time is changing because just recently Modi ji went to UAE and they opened the temple and it is already started.
Right.
It's already built.
No, I agree. That is the Swaminarayan people are building a temple, but that is UAE. Okay. But the kind of conditions they have put on it, you go and see that. I recently was talking to the Swaminarayan people, they told me about it. But which other? Will they have it in, or leave Saudi Arabia? What about Qatar? Will they let you build? Even a place like Tunisia and Morocco, they don't allow you to build. Only Muslim country where you can build a temple is Indonesia, but that's because they were originally Hindus. And they have not changed completely. And that is why in their currency note they have got Ganesh in it. Can you imagine an Indian currency note having Ganesh in it? Oh, there will be rioting, secularism gone, everything gone, intolerance.
That's right. Thank you. There is another question about Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Which you have addressed in your talk, and
yes.
I think the people were concerned, so they asked the same question. But if you want to comment more on it, then we'll welcome it. Three things. One is Bangladesh responding to Mr. Modi's overtures? Second, so many temples have been destroyed, migration and infiltration is disturbing the local areas. And third, what are we doing to protect the Hindu lives there?
Well, first of all, it's a sovereign country. We can warn them, we can tell them. But Bangladesh, certainly as far as Modi is concerned, they are afraid of him because he's not like the other prime ministers. He can react. He has reacted in the case of Pakistan by saying what about Baluchistan, which no other prime minister dared to say.
Right.
But that's not enough. You see, the thing is that it's a Muslim majority country. And in a Muslim majority country, they target the minorities. And it's not only Hindus that they are targeting, it's just basically they are targeting minorities. And there was only one occasion when I know that there was communal rioting going on, and it wasn't stopped, and Sardar Patel addressed a public meeting in Calcutta and he said to Pakistan, that time it was Pakistan, if you can't control the communal riots against Hindus, then we will control it for you. And next day it stopped. So there is a message there that somewhere we have to threaten them.
That's right.
That you don't stop it, then we'll have to do something.
Yes. There are two issues here, very regional issues. One gentleman has asked a question, what about the Kaveri issue? Why does it keep coming up time and again? And the second related to that is from another neighboring state, will there ever be a special status for Andhra? Do we need that? I don't know.
Well, as far as first is concerned, I asked all Tamilians, you want water or you want Kaveri water? Now they say, we want water. Then what's the difficulty? This whole ocean, desalinate the water. Now desalination plants are available so cheap. The whole of Israel, there's not a single river, but 24 hours of the day you get their taps will have water flowing because they desalinate seawater. In our own country, Jamnagar refinery, which is Reliance refinery, the Jamnagar municipality said, we cannot give you water because we don't have enough water. So they set up a desalination plant. And all the water required for the refinery plus drinking water with employees, they are producing it in the factory with the giant desalination plant. And they are also giving to the municipality because the municipality is falling short of water. So they said, okay, we'll give you. And this ocean is, vast ocean is lying. Kalpakam nuclear reactor in Tamil Nadu, the Tamil Nadu government said, we can't give your staff drinking water because we don't have enough of our own. They put up a desalination plant and now Kalpakam employees are all getting desalinated water. This Kaveri, it's such an easy thing. Just desalinate sea water, you can put, you'll get so much water that you can put in the reverse direction in Kaveri and give it to Karnataka, have some more water. You see, that is the strength we have. But there is a catch there. The tanker, those who own water tankers, they make it a business to create this kind of crisis, water shortage, then their business flourishes, they give a cut to the politicians. So because of this nexus between politicians in Tamil Nadu and the tanker owners, water tanker owners, none of this is being implemented. Everybody knows it can be done. I've shown you Jamnagar, I've told you about Kalpakam, we are doing it. Now solar energy driven desalination plant has been invented by the Israelis. Buy it from them and put it, we don't even need electricity.
That's right.
So that's the way to go about it.
Thank you. I mean, that I have read the book.
But now there, you go and see, their entire drinking water supply is from that. Yes, it was not cost effective because they didn't have reverse osmosis. Now they have reverse osmosis process. And once you bring in, instead of electricity, you bring in solar energy, then it will become even cheaper. And why? What is this? You can't die because you don't have water. How you can say cost effective? Nothing can be a higher cost than dying for lack of water. This is wrong economics. You must have been trained by Raghuram Rajan.
Now, before we go to some questions which have potential for humor, let's have one more serious question. And that question relates to what you said earlier on, is the potential if the productivity of the cows went up as we made it. My God, just imagine the amount of prosperity that come about.
Yes.
So what are we doing? How are we educating to make sure? Because I've seen it in Pakistan TV as well, in which even their people have talked about that Sharia doesn't talk about eating beef. They say protect cows, eat milk, have milk, not beef. And they agree that it was done only to humiliate the Hindus. So that question apart, what can we do now to make sure that this message reaches out?
See, there is this cow variety, this Indian cow, which the Americans call as the Brahmin herd. I don't know whether you know. that they've elevated status of Brahmin. That cow's milk is perhaps the most healthy milk for a human being.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
And we have a huge problem because we have to turn around from what was there. It's in the Constitution. I don't have to ask any Muslims, will it hurt your feelings or anything? It's in the Constitution. Article 48 says that the state shall ban the slaughter of cows. Okay, that's there in the Constitution. So I don't have to give any explanation to anybody. The question is how to do it. I found that the main reason why people are slaughtering cows is because the previous government is giving subsidies for export of cow meat. Then I wrote a letter and Nirmala Sitharaman, the Commerce Minister, told me you've stopped it. Now the export of cow meat has gone down very sharply because no more economic to export it. So we have to take these kinds of measures, and ultimately we have to set up big gaushalas on behalf of the state. Of course, the moment we decide we are going to set it up, you will see in front page, NDTV, all that, oh, again, the obscurantists have taken over and it's gone in that direction. But we are doing a constitutional work, and that milk is supposed to be particularly nutritious, and our milk can be exported once we pasteurize it, bottle it, and we can send it abroad, we can sell it, and we can make money out of this.
Thank you. Now let me take a funny statement, and that is about Arvind Kejriwal. See, I didn't just have to use his name, and then all of you started laughing. I hope there are not many AAP supporters here. But that said, somebody's question is, Kejriwal is a real nonsense and a threat. And at the same time, why is BJP government not taking action against Robert Vadra and others?
From Kejriwal to Vadra?
Kejriwal to Vadra. So you have wider field to jump around.
Yes, so as Kejriwal is concerned, I have renamed him as Shri 420 Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Like Tughlaq, he'll come up with why. He is self-destructing, so you don't have to worry about him. Okay. So, as far as Vadra is concerned, you see, there's always this great temptation. Of course, I know as a practitioner, I made Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi stand in court as ordinary accused and take bail.
Right.
Okay, something which people never thought will happen. But it took me 2 years.
Yeah.
And in another year, I will send them to jail also. Yeah. Now, you're waiting for the jail? Okay. Because it's an open shut case, you see. It's a completely open shut case. Now, as far as Vadra is concerned, it's also an open shut case. What Vadra used to do, he will take land meant for building a hospital or a hostel or something, designated purpose of the land. Therefore, the land value is low. He will buy it. He will not buy it with his own money because he doesn't like to spend his own money. So DLF will give him the money to buy these things. I will build a hospital, I will build a library or whatever. And he gets the land cheap. And then once he's got the land, then he used his influence with Huda and got the classification changed to open land. Anything you can build. Okay, they're not necessary for you to build a hospital or a thing, no compulsion. That change of land use was illegally done by Huda. And then having got this land, the DLF says, okay, now I'll give you this much more money and you give the land to us. So DLF then builds housing colonies and so on these things. This is the way he was earning. So there's nothing to prove. Now why didn't they act it on? Because nobody wants a fiasco. We remember there was such a hurry to send Indira Gandhi to jail in the Janta period that we've even forgot to fill the case diary. And the court throughout the and the whole climate changed. You see, people say, oh, they've got nothing, they've just been talking rubbish. So we don't want to miss out. I don't think you have to worry. There's no escape, and it's only a question of time.
Thank you, sir. The next question is a serious one again. It is about China and the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Pakistan has ceded that territory. They are investing big time. How does it impact India, given the fact that India has made its own move towards Balochistan and Iran, kind of?
Well, see, dealing with China, you have to make one decision. And that is, of course, you should never be like Jawaharlal Nehru living in the air. You have to have your ground preparation. And there are many places where China is very vulnerable. Take, for instance, Malacca Strait. The Andaman Nicobar Island, the lowest point is now called the Indira Point. It used to be called something else before, but now it's called Indira Point. And from Indira Point to Indonesia, which is Sumatra, is only 90 kilometers in width. 90% of Chinese foreign trade passes through this narrow thing. If we have an alliance with Indonesia and say we will police this Malacca Strait, Chinese will be in deep trouble. Right? And they don't have that kind of navy to defend it. So that kind of capacity we have to develop, number one. Two, the Chinese cannot repeat 1962 because 1962 was a really emotional failure of Jawaharlal Nehru. He just collapsed. They have such a long supply line. The whole of Tibet is hostile to the Chinese central government. So, if you go and bomb the supply line of the Chinese, they won't be able to pursue the war in that place. So China's last hope is to tribute trouble through Pakistan. Now we have to tell the Chinese, don't do it. But then they will say, don't help Japan. Japan and China are deadly against themselves. Yes. And we have taken a stand which is very favorable to Japan. So they said, why did you enter into this dispute with us? So it's an intricate thing. But China is not very happy with Pakistan because I've known them well. I've dealt with the Chinese and as Minister of Commerce and all that. And they tell me very clearly that we know that Pakistan is training terrorists to come into Xinjiang, their province. So somewhere I think we have to make a decision that Chinese relations, good relations with China is more important than our relations with any other country. And therefore we don't get into jagdas which the Chinese are having, say, with Vietnam or with Japan. Then China can be managed. Without China, Pakistan is zero. It can be any time broken into 4 pieces.
I'm not going to ask any follow-up question for understanding purposes because Pakistan is a country, we granted them most favored nation treatment many years ago. And they are making it as an issue on Kashmir and negotiating, they haven't given us. I do know that Indian traders and businessmen perhaps will lose a bit more if India were to withdraw that. But I'm personally a believer in the concept that I think we can withstand that loss.
Of course.
So why don't we revoke that MFN and bring Pakistan a proactive action that like Mr. Modi did with Balochistan?
We haven't done any action so far.
Yeah.
He's only scared them by saying, Now, thing is that Why don't we... You see, at this stage, we were in the it's not my view, because my view is a hardline view, but I can give a sympathetic interpretation of the government stand. They wanted to experiment whether it's possible to have, by peaceful methods, deal with Pakistan. At some stage, the Prime Minister will take a call that this is not happening, he is just taking advantage of it. In that time, these are the options that we consider.
Okay. Final question. Now dinner is getting ready. This is the final question. No Q&A in America can be complete without a reference to Trump and Hillary. No Q&A can be complete in America without a reference to Hillary and Trump. Who do you think will be beneficial for India and why?
You people live in America. I have lived in America for many, many years before I went back. I know as much about Americans as you do. Let me say that the Americans are the most unemotional people I have ever met. Everything is cost-benefit analysis. Even if they want to keep a marriage or end it in divorce, it's all cost-benefit analysis is done. Whether being married is good or getting divorced is more profitable. So they are very practical people. And therefore, it doesn't matter who is going to be the president, as far as India is concerned. Because the American president is always faced with options, which the think tanks give them, and they have to choose one of them. That's a limited option. They don't have, they give speeches and all that. However, since we are all Indians here, I don't want to interfere in their internal affairs, but in my opinion, Hillary is emotionally more committed to Pakistan and China than she is to India.
This is a question which often comes about on television debates. And, one of the things, most of the Indians end up being more Democrat supporters than Republican supporters. And I always wondered why. And it is a really perplexing thing. Deep down, most Indians are conservatives.
Yeah.
So the support to Democratic Party is only based on the ideal of democratic socialism that existed in India.
Yeah.
And that's what I told people, that Bernie Sanders is bringing Congress party back here. So this is a country which taught us there is no free lunch. So how can there be a free medical insurance, and how can there be a free education? Be aware when somebody offers you something free, because somebody got to pay for it. Either you or I or the person. Now, I'm so delighted and so honored to have had this Q&A session with you.
Mr. Jha, just what about West Bengal? 2 years back, it was a favorable condition for BJP. What was happened? The radical change, I don't know.
Where?
Dilip already said. I need to know from him. What about West Bengal?
Me, I have to listen to his opinion. He is the president of the party there.
What you say, it is like Kerala or something else?
No, Kerala, because the president was not here, so I was free to talk. But once the president is here, he must talk.
You already said. What is the central leadership thinking?
He will know, because he is the one who briefs the central leadership.
Okay, last question comes from Sushma ji. 1 minute, please, please. And please be seated where you are. It is a very important announcement coming right after this. Sushma ji.
How soon BJP will be able to solve the problem of Kashmir with Pakistan?
There is no question of solving the problem of Pakistan with Kashmir. Problem of Kashmir with Pakistan. Because Pakistan is never going to be reasonable. We'll have to do something which Pakistan can't do anything about. Our problem is, first of all, let me tell you, all these troubles that you are seeing is limited to 15% of the population. Large sections of Kashmir, which is Jammu, Ladakh, there is no unrest. Everything is going on normally. In the valley, it is the militants who are financed by Pakistan, and the fact that over so many years of Congress rule or NC rule, the police is demoralized, the Jammu Kashmir police can't do anything. And if you bring police from outside, like we have brought CRP and they don't know the local conditions, so they take extraordinary retaliatory action and so on. But these children who are being killed are given narcotics by the militants and then sent to throw stones and in the process suffer injuries. So there is no way you can reason with them, because their financiers have said very clearly, now you take this to a finality so that somehow we can go back to the UN. We have to, the hard options are somewhere the government of India will have to take a call whether this coalition is worth continuing. In my opinion, it's not worth continuing, but then I am not the one who's to make the decision. The decision makers in the party should decide whether this should continue. My solution is, you have President's rule, you are directly ruling, and thereafter the whole state should be brought under the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. And all this you start doing after making a contingency plan for liberating the so-called Azad Kashmir. That is the way to proceed about it, and you'll get an opportunity, and I'm sure you'll get an opportunity, because the Pakistanis are being pushed by the militants to go to war with India. So I'm sure that one of these days we are going to have a formal war with Pakistan like we had 4 times before. At that time we should complete it.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. It was real honor. Please give him a standing ovation.